ourselves. Yes.
Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for joining the Midwest Big Data Hub's Data Science Student Groups webinar series. I'm John MacMullen. I'm the Executive Director of the Midwest Hub. And this is an ongoing series of webinars designed to help build a community of student-led data science organizations in the Midwest and across the country. These webinars are on the last Wednesday of the month, and they're recorded each time. So for past recordings, you can check out our website, midwestbigdatahub.org, and you can also find that playlist on YouTube as well. Tonight, we're joined by the Bioinformatics Student Association at the University of Delaware. And we also have the group's advisor, Karen Huber, with us. She's the Associate Director of the Center for Bioinformatics and Computational Biology in the Center, in the Computer and Information Sciences Department at the University of Delaware. And she's going to introduce the group to us tonight and tell us about the context for how the group came about. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you. It's an honor to be a part of the evening and share some of our experiences with each of you. As John mentioned, I am the Associate Director for the Center of Bioinformatics. To give you a little bit of perspective, our center is collectively housed under University of Delaware, and we are under the College of Engineering, specifically the Computer Science Department. But we are an interdisciplinary program that spans 5 colleges across the university. We have our programs span from a certificate program, which is both online and on-campus certificates. We have a master's, we have a professional science master's program, and we also have a PhD program. Our PhD program is Bioinformatics Data Science. It was just rebranded in the last year to broaden it to encompass more data science related topics and courses. We have about 60 graduate students, and we have had these programs since the onset in 2010. So we have had our degree options for about 10 years now. We just recently have launched a new online certificate called Biomedical Informatics and Data Science, and we're spreading out into precision medicine and health informatics fields, and we're excited about that opportunity. Tonight I have our BiSA officers with us, and I'm excited to introduce each of them. Our BiSA acronym stands for Bioinformatics Student Association. It is our student association, and they may tell you more about this, but we are a grad student organization. And just recently, University of Delaware went from a grad office to a graduate college. So along with a structural change and more emphasis on our graduate program, there is also going to be more emphasis in our graduate student organizations. But primarily it has been a graduate student-led group that doesn't just span bioinformatics. We touch into computer science and data science, and anybody that's a grad student that's interested in data science is welcome to attend the events. We have a pretty active group, and I think they're going to tell you some fun things and exciting things that they've set out for the course of this year. Our 4 officers are Heidi Van Every. She is a 4th-year PhD student in our bioinformatics, and it's called data science now, but bioinformatics and systems biology or data science. And she was also, some of our officers change every year, but then some of them have been a part of the officer group into a different role. Along with her is Riza. She is also a 4th-year PhD student, and she is nearing the end of her journey as a grad student, and is also working at a local hospital of ours, Christiana Hospital, and is doing some big data health informatics in her work. Adam Faranda is also a part of us, and he is our secretary. And he is in his first year of his PhD and is working with a biological science advisor. And he also started out in our master's program and just recently joined the PhD. He was part-time in the master's program as he worked at DuPont, and is now full-time, has made the decision to work full-time in his PhD work. Menolin Sharma is our treasurer, and she is in her second year as a PhD student, and she is from the country of Nepal and has been working in more systems biology related field with our director of the core facility for the Center of Bioinformatics. And I want to thank each of you for your willingness to participate tonight. And I'm excited to hear what you all have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Dr. Hoover.
All right, so thank you, Dr. Hoover, for the welcome. As you can see here on the page, our URL for, we actually have a BiSA website. It's on there for those that are interested in what we do as a group. And actually, we have a screenshot of our homepage of our website. And as you can see here, there is a couple of different tabs that students that are interested in our program or students that are in our program. There's a calendar of events where we post about upcoming events around our department, as well as events inside the university, so that students could see if they are interested in attending those events. We have the minutes of our officers that we post there, so everything, there's transparency. We also have a resources tab where students could find links to our Google group, our Facebook page, our social media pages, and resources for tutoring if they happen to need any tutoring, and some of the alumni that have graduated from our programs, the companies that they are currently affiliated with, we have them there. So there's a plethora of different affiliations that our graduated students are able to join into. So the structure of our organization is, for the most part, I could speak for our 4 group. It's not as stringent as most of the other organizations. The way our structure is for BiSA is that at the towards the end of the spring semester, the current officers send out a form for nominations for new officers for the upcoming school year. And then once the nominations are put into place, then another form is sent out to do votes on who they feel should be the next president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary of the organization. And the way we decided as a group when we transitioned as the new officers for the 2019-2020 school year is that we didn't feel that it was necessary for us to be very strict on our roles and responsibilities because we all have our own separate research work. We all have work outside of our grad school, and we try to do a work-life balance that I think not a lot of organizations have. So what we decided to do is we mostly meet remotely, since most of us work in different facilities. As Dr. Hoover mentioned, I work at the local hospital. Menolin and Adam have classes that they still have since they're earlier in the program. And Heidi works from either her research lab or from home. So having the capability of being able to meet online and be able to coordinate that way has been very helpful. So the next steps for us would, I think, when we talk about the officers, is having to decide which one of us is able to do certain events. Adam and Menolin will talk more about how they were able to attend events that Heidi and I couldn't attend yesterday, and coordinating for our events that we have previously done in the fall semester and this upcoming spring semester. So you'll hear more about that. So this is the most current photo of our group, and again, our names for the different officers. And we're just going to talk a little bit before we get into our structure of our organization about what we are interested in research.
So I'm Heidi, and I'm working in a Dr. Carl Schmidt's lab in the agriculture and natural resources and animal and food sciences. So I'm working with chicken as a model organism, and I'm looking at transcriptome and metabolome data and integrating those to understand the hepatic development. And as Dr. Huber already said, I'm in my 4th year now.
Okay, my research focus and the reason for my internship at the current hospital is I'm mostly interested in predictive analytics and machine learning by utilizing electronic health records. So my research focus is on diabetes, since it's one of the 3rd leading cause of death here in the United States. So what I am trying to accomplish is trying to predict the first onset of each diabetic related complication.
Hi, I'm Adam Faranda. I am a student in Dr. Melinda Duncan's lab. My area of focus is transcriptomics in the lens. We're using RNA sequencing data to try and understand mechanisms in the injury response and also in the congenital disorder anorexia.
Hi, I'm Menolin, and I'm working in Dr. Paulson's lab, Dr. Son Paulson's lab, and currently I'm working in genome analysis of bradyrhizobium, and we are trying to assemble the genomes and do a pan-genome analysis of the microbial strains. So moving on to the funding part for our group. So most of the funding we receive for the group come from the department. So we use the departmental budget for most of the food and other events we carry out. And to apply for the departmental funding, we give out a tentative budget estimation at the start of the academic year. And we use that for different events we organize for grad students with different social events, outreach events, and also for the recruitment of new students, like touring and doing lunch with the new students in case they're interested in the bioinformatics program over here in UD. And just yesterday, when me and Adam attended the graduate student meeting, graduate student officers meeting, we just learned about funding for the registered graduate student organizations by UD, and I guess we'll be applying for that as well. And we also receive grants through INBRE as well, and for some of our past programs like training workshop and other workshop, we have also received funding from the faculty who have got training grants. So part of our funding also comes from Delaware INBRE, and Delaware INBRE is a part of the nationwide INBRE research program, and it helps in the development of graduate students and postdoc, and we use their funding especially for carrying out events like career panel workshop, just honorarium fees for them, and several other events, but we cannot use them for food and other expenses.
So some of our responsibilities have already been covered, but they range from sort of on an as-needed basis to sort of regular things that we do. So the prelim and candidacy exam study sessions, at least the organizing of those, and then also student tutoring, that's kind of on an as-needed basis. Oftentimes, Dr. Huber will be contacted by students, or she'll know which students are going to be taking the exams, and she'll ask us to put together groups, or she'll ask us to reach out to the different, to other BiSA students and see if anybody is available to help with those sorts of things, because we're all taking more or less the same core courses, and we can all really, we realized how we can help each other with preparing for those sorts of things. We also, in our Google group, we maintain a lot of the emails that go out for job postings and events. Also, people will contact Dr. Huber, alumni or local organizations that are looking to fill positions. So that's kind of an all-inclusive resource for any of our students to learn about what's going on and what sorts of opportunities are out there. So we just started the Instagram this year, and we've also been keeping up with our Facebook page just to have a social media presence. And then we do some regular events. So we have a bioinformatics seminar that's required. It's a required weekly course for the bioinformatics students. And we have speakers come. We'll have students give seminars and also faculty, but we'll have we'll have other speakers attend from other organizations. And we like to arrange sort of roundtable events with these speakers so that the students can get time to network with them in a less formal setting. So we do those on a pretty regular basis, and also we do some social events. So in previous years, we've done some professional events for professional development. Last year was the first year that we did the career Q&A panel. We had 4 panelists from academia and some local industry come to answer questions from the students, and that was very well received. And we just did that during the normal bioinformatics seminar hours. And then we've also had sort of workshops from the Software and Data Carpentry organization that, as we mentioned before, we've been able to fund by networking with faculty who have training grants, because those tend to be a little bit more costly. We also try to do purely social things like at local restaurants or activities like ice skating or hiking. I think some coming up for this year, we're considering doing something at the Franklin Institute. So just kind of opportunities for grad students to get out and do something different. So some events that we've had so far this year, I already mentioned the coffee or happy hour roundtable meetings. So far we've had speakers, we've met with speakers from Cornell, New York University, Johns Hopkins, and just this past week from University of Pennsylvania. This year we also were able to arrange transportation and subsidized registration fees to a local conference. We were able to rent a van through the university, and I think 4 or 5 students drove down for the Health Informatics and Data Science Symposium at Georgetown University. So that was a good trip, and something that perhaps we can do more of in the future. We had a CV workshop, which I'm going to be talking a little bit more about, and there was some interest in having sort of mock interview sessions. And we also had a holiday party at the end of the semester last year, and we're planning a career panel and possibly another carpentry workshop for this year. So our CV workshop last fall, this idea was actually suggested to us from one of our alum, and we even though the career services does provide CV help and resume help, we wanted to have an event that was sort of tailored towards biotech grad students, and we also wanted to personalize it and be able to provide hands-on help, especially getting some CV examples from alumni. So we reached out to several different alumni and had them provide their resumes and their CVs and any tips that they had for the interview process, and the students found those really helpful. So we basically coordinated with the Career Services Center. We had two of them attend and give a really nice presentation with all of the tips, which we were able to provide online on our website. And then we were able to distribute the alumni CV examples. And then we had a peer-to-peer review session where we each looked over each other's resumes and followed a rubric to score them. And we also followed up with a survey and provided refreshments during I think it was a 2-hour session. So something we did learn from this is we had about 30 students sign up from a variety of different departments, but we only had maybe 12 actually attend. So in the future, we'll probably look into charging a small fee, perhaps to encourage people who sign up to actually attend. I think that's probably one of our main challenges since we're all really busy. And then this is sort of in the works for this spring. We're hoping it's about $4,500 to run a carpentry or software workshop, but this is something we've kind of been doing on an annual basis. And we're looking into ways to get funding either from faculty, possibly from our INBRE grant, possibly also from the graduate student government, and even opening it up to some other local groups such as the Value Institute, who may have people that would be interested in picking up these skills. Because that's one thing that we've definitely noticed, especially when we've gone to some of the grad student orientations, that people not in the field of bioinformatics still are very interested in picking up the skills. And so offering a workshop like this could be a way to really get some interdisciplinary participation.
Okay, our next biggest event this spring is our career panel, and like Heidi mentioned, last year's first event was so successful that a lot of students requested that we have another career panel for this school year, and we have been able to solidify a date for that, and that is on March 23rd. And the way that we went about trying to find people for this career panel is we took input from students of who they wanted to hear from. So we tried to get a mix of different people, both in academia and industry. And this year also we have a recent alumni from our program to be able to speak about his experience in the job market right now, the hiring process, and also the visa restrictions that he had to overcome. So what's great about this is that it's a very informal panel. So we're going to be sending out a form to our current students and asking them what type of questions they would like to ask these panelists ahead of time, so that we could kind of see if there's a theme among certain students, if that way we could flow the conversation of the panel, because it's an hour-long panel, and then we have time for networking afterwards. And through the INBRE grant, we were able to give a small financial incentive to our panelists and offer some sort of, if they need transportation costs covered, we were able to do that with the INBRE grant.
So one of the things that we've learned during our during this year is that grad students are very busy, and encouraging attendance can be a real challenge. So there are a couple of things that we've kind of picked up along the way. You know, one of which is to, you know, try and focus on things that our constituency is interested in, and we have effectively used Google Forms to collect, you know, information about, you know, events that our bioinformatics students would like to do, as well as, you know, what worked during events. Food and class participation credit can be very effective motivators for students, and it's really helpful also to choose a low stress time of the semester and try and sort of schedule events around times that we know are convenient for most of the students in the program. Another thing that is really important is to focus your efforts on a manageable number of high priority events in order to avoid overextending limited leadership bandwidth. So that can be, really important as well. So as an interdisciplinary organization, we really would also like to reach students in other related fields. And recently, Menolin and I had attended a networking workshop for graduate student organization leadership. And that was a good opportunity for us because we learned a little bit more about new channels for interorganizational communication and funding streams as well. And really by connecting with other aligned groups on campus, we would hope to be able to expand our reach. Some of the things that, some areas where we can definitely pick it up a little bit, documenting our events and sort of maintaining social media, and that could be important for, generating interest and enticing students to participate. And then, sort of communicating and balancing responsibilities between the leaders. It's really important that all leaders are engaged. And one of the things that we experienced early on is when we are all four of us are new leaders. So that officer transition, that transfer of knowledge from the previous group to the next group is really critical. And, our previous leadership, they did a great job kind of setting us up, but it was still, since all four of us were new at it, there was definitely a steep learning curve there. So yeah, I think, that's as far as challenges and room for improvement.
Yeah. That's it for our presentation. We just wanted to acknowledge the CBCB and the graduate program, and also the funding from INBRE, and all the support that we've got from Dr. Huber and Andrea Trungold as well. And then we wanted to thank Alice and the Midwest Big Data Hub for inviting us to this webinar. So here's our contact information, and you might be able to use the QR code if you're interested in accessing our website. And we're happy to answer any questions that people have.
Great, thank you all very much. That was a terrific presentation. We appreciate hearing about your activities. Just have a few questions myself, but I think I want to open it up to anybody who is currently online participating. If anybody has questions, feel free to jump in at this point.
Will we be accessing questions through the chat?
That's a good point. So if you're online and are wanting to ask a question, you're welcome to unmute and do that verbally, or you could put it in the chat as well. It looks like we have a question from Iman.
Yeah, hi, this is Iman speaking. I quickly had a chat with Heidi this afternoon before this webinar, and actually thanks for the webinar today. Like right now, it seems like it's a great year, and you all doing a lot of effort being a student, and you all have same responsibility and core courses and research to take care on. Besides CBCV, I am also part of Department of Biomedical Engineering because my advisor is from there, and one the good part is I get to be a part of their seminar club and the other department seminar club as well. And one of the takeaway is that, which I discussed with Heidi and I thought of sharing in this forum, is that in our BiSA or Monday seminar, we get to know that a couple of postdoctoral fellows or some of the PhD students or mostly guest lecturers, what are they doing? But what are the other departments doing? Like every 3 months, quarterly, what are they doing is they're holding a half-a-day event where all of their students come over and talk about their research and what are they doing. The seniors, like who are about to graduate or who are postdocs, they will give a 10 to 12 minutes presentations, whereas the juniors or people who are just started research or in the midway, they will give it like quick 3 minutes presentation, but everyone presents and interact, and there is a like review session, who led award session and stuff like that. So I was just thinking like, and I got connected with a couple of our like peers this year, and I was like, everyone is doing such a good work, but because everyone is busy, we don't get time to chat and stuff like that, despite of a Monday seminar. How about we have something like that? Just a suggestions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. It's been really helpful to have the seminar to work so closely with the seminar, because we do have the opportunity for since every grad student is required to present at least once, I think once for the master's students and 3 times for the PhD students. It's good to have that opportunity, but I think something more frequent, or even a meeting outside of seminar hours where people can practice their pitches or something like that. We've definitely discussed that in the past, and definitely I think there would be a lot of interest in something like that.
Thank you. Thanks, Heidi.
Yeah, I think also, it would be very interesting for students to hear what, have an opportunity to learn about the different types of projects that other students are working on, to help generate ideas and, sort of transfer some of those skills as well. I think that would be, an event like the one that you described could be very, very valuable.
And I think that's something we could weave into like our social events. So it's a little bit more informal. The students don't feel so much pressure to come up with a presentation. But I think that is definitely something we'll look at in our next social event.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool, thanks.
All right, does anybody else on the call have any questions for our presenters? All right, while you're thinking of questions, I think I'll go ahead and ask a couple. I thought it was very, very interesting how diverse the interests are just amongst the leadership team on the call today. You're all doing very interesting things, but they're all quite different from each other. And so I'm wondering, in terms of your professional programs, what are some of the ways that you think about making those general enough that you can pull in a broader audience, but still, specific enough that it's meaningful to people to participate?
I think one of the things, so with the software and data carpentry offering, there are a lot of tools that, even though we're in different disciplines, we use things like GitHub and R and Python, needing to learn. So there's a common set of tools that we often use, and I think that's at least one way that we can integrate. I don't know if you guys have.
Yeah, I didn't realize how many different research focuses there were until I participated in one of the prelim study groups, and we all kind of had a chance, maybe 4 or 5 of us had a chance to talk about our research. But Adam's right, there's a lot of
overlap.
There's a lot of overlap, and then since we all pretty much take the same core courses, we can also always focus on like the topics in those core courses. And then I guess we just learned about this yesterday at the meeting that Menolin and Adam went to, but there's an email distribution list for all of STEM graduate students. So we've been using basically one that just contains like our BiSA group members, but I think that we'd like to start using the STEM graduate email list to get more of the information out there, and also maybe hear back from a broader audience. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but.
Yeah, no, that was definitely helpful. And the fact that you brought up the software and data carpentry workshops sort of leads into one of my other questions, which was, we have offered those before through the big data hubs as well, and we found them very useful for practitioners both in academia and in industry and government, but those are typically working professionals. And so I'm a little curious about how those worked out for student participants. Were those programs useful to you to learn new skills, new tools, or what sorts of things may have been missing from those that would be helpful for you guys to have access to?
So in the preparation that we've been doing, thinking about running our own carpentry workshop, it seems to be very customizable. You can kind of pick which topics, I guess, you want to see covered. So, you know, you have to consider your audience at the very beginning. And of course, if we had industry work, like working professionals or anything, we might have to make it a little more broad. I took the workshop maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I found that it was a really good introduction to a lot of the things that I ended up using later on, like R and Python. So I don't know, have any of you guys taken it before? Okay.
I took the Open Refine carpentry workshop that was actually part of the library carpentry program, and it was hosted by the library's sort of library digital scholarship. And it was, you know, it was helpful for me to kind of learn a new tool for cleaning my data.
I mean, I know with, since we're right now still seeking funding for the carpentry workshop, when I pitched it over at the Value Institute, where I'm currently working, some of the actually industry professionals are not so skilled in either Python or R, or even they're not aware of GitHub, since they mostly work only on certain softwares like SAS or SQL. So a lot of them that were interested they gave their input that if they do decide to sponsor a portion of the event, if we could cater it to more general and to like an introductory level. So we kind of have to find that balance, because if we have students that are in their 3rd or 4th year, even a little bit beyond in their program, they're not going to benefit so much from the introductory aspects of any of the data or the software workshop. So we like what Heidi says, we have to know our audience, so we have to be able to cater to the needs of I think what is going to be the most beneficial to those that are going to be participating in the event.
And that is one thing. So with the more introductory material, that tends to be more general. But as you get more advanced, things tend to get a little bit more specialized towards each user's application. So that's definitely something we would need to.
And I really think that most of our students probably get the most of their knowledge from working with their own data. So this is kind of something we've been talking about in planning this workshop, is trying to not run the same one every year, since people have probably already taken it and it may be a little bit redundant. So I know that there was, I don't think it's a full workshop yet, but there was one having to do with image analysis in Python, which I think is a really big topic now. So I think that we'd definitely like to see that. And any sort of workshop involving image analysis, you know, that would be something I think everybody could benefit from.
Yeah, I had attended one like GitHub workshop. It was kind of introductory. So even though I had used GitHub before, after that, even though it was introductory, I learned more about its features. So it was really helpful that way as well.
Great, very helpful. That's good to know what some of those topics might be as we think about extending our data carpentry membership that we have through the hub to student groups and student participants. So that's great, thanks. So it sounds like you guys are doing a great job with your programs, and you have a good balance between professional sort of focused activities and social activities. I'm glad that you have a good work-life balance, it sounds like. But if you are able to get more support or advice from faculty or from university staff, what kinds of things might be helpful to you that would help maybe grow the group or provide different programs or otherwise help out what you're doing?
You mean from faculty and staff, like specifically?
Well, I mean, those are the people who are probably closest to the work that you're doing. But if there's other folks, you know, other funding agencies, for example, I'm just trying to get a sense of who and what might help you best provide the kinds of services that you think are useful.
I think for some of the training, since we've gotten funding from faculty in the past who have had training grants, we have a lot of biologists at the University of Delaware that will have bioinformatics students in their labs. So they're not necessarily people with a computational background, but they definitely benefit from having their students learn those skills. So any faculty that's really, you know, going to benefit from those sorts of things. So definitely having the money for more, like we can support less expensive events, but the software carpentry is definitely one that we're having to, you know, be a little bit creative in how we fund that. And then even just getting the word out, I think we did a pretty good job with the CV workshop of, you know, racking our brains and seeing what other lists people might be interested, or what other groups might be interested in hearing or in attending it. But some of the students who attended who were from other departments mentioned that I guess students aren't that open to attending events outside of their own department. So maybe helping to facilitate a more collaborative environment in the first place would be really helpful, and faculty can definitely help with that. I don't know, did you guys have anything?
No, I think definitely faculty participation on the career panel has been, you know, very welcome in the past, and, you know, certainly, you know, we'll continue with the career panel, and we hope to have, you know, solid faculty representation there. That's definitely been helpful for us. I don't know, is there sort of anything related to technical mentorship that you can think of? Or?
I think getting the word out to networking events, and I mean, because that's where we met some of our career panelists, and just learning about research from people outside of our institutions. If students were, I think early on in the program, if they're aware that there's these events where you could meet and collaborate with other people in research areas that you wouldn't even normally think that you'd be interested in, then that way that could kind of give you a little bit more of a different flavor of what's going around in the terms of the research scope of UD and outside of UD. So I think it's good to stress the importance of being able to network and being able to attend these local conferences. And I think that was one of the big areas that we tried to focus with our group this year, is that we do live near big conferences, and they're pretty local, like in Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. And when we reached out to students to see if they were interested in these events, they were unaware that less than an hour away there was a conference that they could have potentially attended and learned about internship opportunities that industries have, or research collaborations that they could have joined. So I think early on, if we get the message out there that there are these events that are sometimes minimal fee and sometimes they're free, that it'll be very helpful in their career in the long run.
And I was just talking with Iman about this a little bit ago, but we have a lot of, well, most of our students actually, probably the vast majority, end up going into industry jobs. and we have a lot of industry in this area. We have a lot of biotech in New Jersey, in Philly area, and I think getting the attention of some of those groups, you know, obviously we have ties with some Delaware, some local ones, but I think we as a group aren't really sure how to get the attention of some of the industry groups that would really benefit from, you know, networking with students or you know, even sourcing some of their employees from here.
Heidi, that was actually something that kind of came up yesterday.
Okay.
So there's Alok Patel, is very well networked with a lot of the industry. So Delaware Bio, and there were two other industry groups, trade groups that he had sort of specifically mentioned. He's very well connected, and I think, you know, if we kind of reached out to him and, you know, had the right sort of, you know, level of commitment, he'd be able to make a lot of connections for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great strategy, but I think also the fact that you're a registered student organization, you could potentially talk with career services folks on campus who generally have good connections with industry groups and specific companies and so forth, and they may be able to provide some access to them either individually or through a career networking event or something like that that would get you more connections into that sector.
Yeah, I know there are career fairs that the university has, but I don't know how many of them are specifically either geared towards bioinformatics or biotech, or even hiring in the field of bio and data science. It's all kind of new, so I think we've kind of been garnering all of that interest.
Great. Well, it sounds like you have a very supportive environment there, so that sounds good. I think Alice had a question or two, so I'll turn it over to her next.
Oh, thanks, John. Yeah, just as a follow-up on the previous question, what are activities you'd like, you know, if you had more support, what are activities you'd like to see developing? And I know other groups have had, you know, they organize some hackathons. Have you considered any of that, or do you have other ideas? And what would be your next step, bearing in mind that, of course, that depends a lot on how much support and financial support you can get?
To be honest, I think that financial support has probably been less of an obstacle than people support. We were talking about this just a little bit earlier, how we would like to, you know, it's a lot for just the four of us to handle, especially organizing some of these big events. So that's something we want to think about in the future, and maybe that's something that the department would be able to help us with, as far as getting volunteers to help with some of the duties of setting these events up. Because especially part of the reason that we don't do events more often is just because, you know, we can't all be there every single time we're doing something, just because of all the like research commitments and everything. So definitely finding a way to get other students involved outside of the actual BiSA officers would be very helpful to us.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately one of the challenges for us is that a lot of our students are far away from campus and don't spend as much of their time on campus. So they're not in labs. Many of us work remotely. So sort of getting people to come and attend, and I don't know how many students, there's 60 students in the program. So our constituency can be a little bit smaller, I think. So yeah, if we could, again, bring in students from, you know, other aligned disciplines, you know, that would be good. Get our numbers up.
Thank you. That's very interesting. Very interesting to hear. And I'm going to be very quick. It's not really a question, but I just wanted to go back to the carpentries workshop, which I found very interesting also, that your organization proposes those. I don't think I've heard, you know, offering carpentry workshop from any other of the data science groups we've had on these webinars. Maybe they did and maybe didn't mention it. But I think it's really great. Maybe the reason is, like you mentioned, the funding issue. Those can be pretty costly for a student organization. How many? I was just curious. How many students on average would attend those?
I think typically about 30.
All right. Yeah. So that's very successful. Very good. Okay.
They're different sizes. I mean, it's the carpentry organization. It sounds like they can run much bigger workshops. They just would have to send more instructors. So we typically aim for about 30 students having one room, and it's a 2-day thing.
Very good. Fantastic. Is there any other questions? Well, if not, then maybe we can conclude. I'll let John conclude the webinar, but thank you again so much for presenting tonight. And thank you, Dr. Huber.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you all very much. So I'll just remind folks that the next webinar is March 25th. That's a Wednesday as well at 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern. You're welcome to come back and join that as well. But thanks again for talking with us tonight. Thank you, Dr. Huber, for being here as well. And with that, we'll say goodnight and thank you all again.
Thank you.
Bye.